booties for black girl nerds.
It's a pleasure to finally meet you. You spoke with Ryan the last time you interviewed our outlet, but it's great to meet you. Thank you so much for following us on Instagram. I see your likes whenever we post X-Men
Well, it's
content.
good stuff, man. I mean, y'all do giving good stuff. So, one, hi, nice to nice to officially be talking as well. Yeah, thank you for having me.
How are you feeling after now the season finale has launched and fans have reacted to it? And I'm sure you've seen the reactions online. How are you feeling in this moment?
If I, yeah, no,
Relieved,
yeah,
ready to glad that
relieved,
it's over, excited
relieved,
for what's
humbled.
coming.
It's a mixture of everything, right? But honestly, just to be quite frank, it's deserved and it's earned. More importantly, this team works their asses off to give this beautiful stuff, the justice and these characters the justice that they deserve, right? The storytellings and the themes. Um, it's been nothing short of just awesome, and it's like cool. It's one thing to have pride in what you do, and it's one thing to know that, oh, we're making good stuff, we're making stuff that we love and we want to see. It's another thing for to have that, and essentially the world to receive it well, as positively as well. So that's cool, because this stuff lasts forever. So nice to leave a good legacy behind.
I mean, you guys are doing the Lord's work. Like, this is just such a brilliant show, and it's exceeded everybody's expectations. And now we're all just kind of sad because it's like, what are we going to talk about now on social media? What are we going to watch
Rewatch.
on Wednesdays?
I
Yeah, that
guarantee, I guarantee you, the audience still hasn't caught everything we put in the show, because rewatch was also the name of the game as well. So,
and that's what I love about X-Men 97. There's so many Easter eggs. There's so much to just dissect with every scene and every moment. And we see some really great cameos in this series. And I wanted to ask you, because we saw a number of cameos in this season finale, a number of Avengers members, and a lot of fans have wanted to know,
mm.
is there going to be some possible crossover that we'll see in season two with some Avengers? Because over the years, we've seen them have their moments in the live action. Will we see that play into season two?
What I will say is, the best thing about what X-Men 92 gave us, right? It was the MCU before the MCU became the MCU. So the best part about that is they have their own wonderful sandbox that we get to play and pull from. That being said, I how best can I put this? I behoove the fans and audiences alike to watch season two, because you never know who is going to show up, who may or may not.
Okay.
That's I think that's the best way to describe it. It's ingrained in the original show's DNA to have cameos, whether it propels the story forward or as a blink and you miss it, right? And also shout out to Larry Houston for doing that stuff. Every cameo in the original show is illegal, by the way. I love pointing that out anytime I can, because Larry never got approval for that stuff. He just snuck that stuff in.
Really?
He's one of the reasons why we have the contingencies we have now in our industry to not get away with crap like that. But yeah, like so but that was part of the DNA. Oh, I want to put this cameo here. We need to put this cameo here. Oh, this alludes to the broader world, that is the Marvel universe, right? These characters exist within the same universe. Push-up glasses, depending on which one you're talking about, right? But it's ingrained in the original show DNA. So if we're to be a true revival, a true spiritual successor, we need to follow the same DNA. You know what I mean? If we change that, it's no longer the show. So to that point, you saw it in season one, season two. If we're still doing the same kind of stuff, you'll be happy.
Okay. All right. I'm excited. Season one has brought us some pretty compelling villains. We've seen multiple villains in this season. Bastion was very terrifying. Mr. Sinister was nuts. And then here we go with this finale. Apocalypse has entered the chat. uh, First of all, Do we need to read Age of Apocalypse to prepare for season two? And will we expect multiple villains in season two as we experienced in season one?
What I will say is, one, you always get me with, should I read a comic? Yes. I'm just gonna say yes. Whether or not it's in preparation for season two, I'm just gonna say yes. Read the comics, read the books, read them all. Get a nice reminder of Apocalypse. 90s specifically Apocalypse, right? Because we know he's gone through some stuff and in the Krakoa era and little mythos kind of, or I guess ideology changing or challenging a little bit, right? Um, 90s Apocalypse is just a damn savage, but
Facts.
savage who believes that he's just, that they are just in what they're doing. And with Apocalypse, I don't want to give too much hope on how many cameos or villains that we will have, but I will say, there's always somebody pulling the strings of somebody pulling the strings of somebody pulling the strings. And in true fashion, would you want to know if there were multiple villains or not, or would you want
Yes.
to be surprised?
Yes.
You know how you want to know? You want to know by watching the show and figuring it out and getting it shown,
True.
right? You don't want to be told this stuff. You want to be shown this stuff. So I will
Yeah.
just say, y'all won't be mad. Nobody's going to be mad.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. But we'll have the same experience that we had in season one in season two as far as those different storylines with
Mhm.
those villain arcs.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
could say that much, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's again, in being a true spiritual successor, you never want to change too much of the ingrained DNA, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not what you're setting out to be. And that needs to stay true at every step of the way for every season.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That gives me hope. I love that. So talk to me about pacing because
Mhm.
Storm's life death storyline, we kind of did a little bit of a speed run
Mhm.
through that story. So, what's the process of storytelling of these various events when it comes to pacing? And should we expect kind of a faster pace than we did in the comics as we go into season two and multiple seasons of this series when it
Sure.
comes to these different events?
And I loved talking about that question because it's a big one that comes up. Our show has breakneck pacing. It's you blink and you're like, oh, that for any fan that watched the OG show, that grew up with the OG show, that is no different there. They were doing the breakneck pacing that we have now then. Because there's just so many characters, so many stories, and the best thing about what the OG show had was they had seasons, long episode order seasons, 20 plus episodes per season. So there's a lot more they have to get through and cover, or they could elaborate on. They were able to take times to, when we only have 10 episodes in one season, everything's got to slap, everything's got to hit, everything's got to, we got to squeeze it all in, right? So to that, I would absolutely hesitate to say that it's going to be faster in season two. It's not even about that. It's more just we have to continue the pacing because we're cramming everything in a short amount of time, such a short amount of time. You always want to do your best to make sure characters beats moments, things that need to be honored, get honored with the right amount of time they have before you can move on. Sometimes you wish you can give it more. Sometimes you wish you can give it less. But if there's the right amount of time for the audience to take it, process it, and not have to do as much catching up as they're going on, and that's always the goal. But yeah, the pacing, it's an ensemble show. You don't watch the X-Men for one X-Men, you watch the X-Men for the team. And while we watch individual stories, at the end of the day, we want to see that team coming back together, or if we're separating them, right, it needs to be validated with story. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's an ensemble show. Every character has such deep nuance and backstory and their own side issues and whatnot. So it's just trying to take all of that, all of it, because you love it so much. We all love it so much. but not everything can make it in, right? Because if we did that, nothing would ever get done. We'd still be making
Facts.
the show right now. We wouldn't be able to talk about it, after watching it. So it's it can be challenging at hot times on our end, but I dare say it's hard because at the end of the day, it's story over everything. If it doesn't push the narrative forward, it doesn't go in. And that is for all aspects, whether it's, scripts, editing, pacing of editing, animation, design. If it doesn't service the narrative, it doesn't go in.
Well, they're giving me the wrap. I did want to just wrap with this last thing. I hope that, because you mentioned that this is an ensemble show and that everyone needs their moment. I
Right.
hope that in season 2 that we give a little bit more of a moment to Storm, because we didn't see much of her in season 1. And for our audience, we love Storm, we love Aurora Monroe. So
Agreed.
hopefully she gets a
Agreed.
little bit more attention in season 2.
Agreed.
But thank you, Jake, so much for taking the time to speak to
Thank
Black Girl
you.
Nerd. I really love what you guys have done with X-Men 97. This is such a brilliant show. And congratulations on just like the fan reception, the critical reception, and also the Emmy consideration. I'm already putting it out in the universe that the Emmy is yours. So
Thank you. I mean, it's a team effort. It really is. It would be our Emmy, and that would be cool. Yeah, no, thank you for the love and support. Appreciate the love for the show, and also mad props to all the Star Wars stuff in the background. So
yeah, I got to get more X-Men stuff in the background. Thank you
dude,
so
awesome.
much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye. Hi, it is
I
such a pleasure to meet you guys. My name is Jamie with Black Girl Nerds. You guys spoke with Ryan before, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
course.
absolutely. Thank you for wanting to talk to us.
Yeah.
Listen, applause, congratulations on an incredible series, an incredible season finale. This show is all the things and more. I grew up on X-Men. X-Men, the animated series, was my gateway into comics. So this series was just everything to me and so much more. And I appreciate it. I'm trying not to fangirl over you guys right now.
It's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll fan with you. We're huge fans of X-Men as well.
Yeah. I was gonna say we can just join in this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, I just really appreciate what you guys have brought to so many of us old school X-Men fans. Chase, I'm going to start with you. Episode 110, Tolerance is Extinction, Part 3. We get this really cool cameo of Peter Parker and MJ Watson. And what's super cool about the way this scene is shot is we see the broken glass in the foreground, and it's looks like a spider web. And I just wanted to know what the concept was behind the direction of that scene and what led you to bring in those two characters into this story episode.
Well, I don't know if there was any one particular thing as far as it went as it goes outside of really you have like Daredevil, all the street level Marvel characters, right? Cloak and Dagger, the Hell's Kitchen kind of cast, as well as Spider-Man. It's really just to allude to the fact that he was trying to stop the looters at some point, but he's also now everybody's kind of around family because this could be the end. There's you have this huge asteroid that's barreling towards Earth, and we thought it would be cool to also have Peter Parker find MJ finally.
Finally, I love it. And it looks like it was a nod to the 90s Peter Parker from the
Yeah,
animated series,
100%.
the Spider-Man animated series. So I love it. I love to see it. Emmy, over to you. In episode 109, Tolerance is Extinction Part 2, I really love the way this scene was constructed with the illustration of Xavier speaking to Cyclops and Jean Grey after he's abandoned the team and he's trying to reconcile their relationship, and they're in this room together, and we see this barrier in the foreground, and then in the background he's in his wheelchair coming closer to them, and it seems as if he's trying to cross over as we see this barrier. And I just thought that that was a very beautiful direction from you as we see that scene. So can you kind of tell us more about the construction of that scene and just crafting that very dramatic moment as we see Xavier crossing this barrier and trying to reconcile this relationship between these two members of the team?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was bordered by Jake Castorena, which is fantastic. I mean, he had such a great eye. But what we knew we wanted to do for that was there's going to be this emotional barrier between the characters. And sometimes the best way to throw that in, almost literally, is to actually just have barriers between them. You know, like we didn't want to have rubble too much on the floor because we still wanted to make it accessible for him. But to have it be shot like through broken bookshelves, to have it be like you see this gaping hole behind him, it's like you can see the symbolism of the destruction of the mansion is also kind of the destruction of their family as it stands. So just making it feel uncomfortable and broken. And then that was just great to be able to leave up to our design team to be able to really flesh out with Anthony and Roger kind of leading the way of just taking that space from boards and then really making sure that the devastation of losing the mansion is reflected in kind of the devastation of this more father-son issue, because Jean's there to just be like, you guys need to get your shit in order. And I love that about her, where she already knows. But, you know, Cyclops just can't get past it. So I really loved kind of being able to set that scene so that it could also just visually look the way we're supposed to be feeling.
Mm-hmm.
The attention to detail is just so precise on this show. I love it. It's like an anatomy of a scene, you know, and you can really have these conversations about just a scene and dissect it and just go on and on and on about how this means this metaphor and this means that. So very well done. Chef's finger kiss to both of you on both of these scenes respectively. Chase, back to you. The wall of photos that we see, this is back in the season finale, episode 110, that we see of the mutants, and the wall of photos is harkens to a very well-known issue of Days of Future Past, where we see the mutants, where some are missing, some have gone AWOL, some are presumed dead, some are still alive. And for those mutants that are still alive, is it safe to say that we may see these mutants in season 2?
Well, I will say this. This is the status of the mutants as Forge knows it. Not so much as to like where everybody may be, right? So, you know, there may be some misdirects there. But for in terms of Forge's estimation, this is where this is kind of how he's classified everybody's status right now. So, you know, we'll just have to see.
Okay, fair enough. I love it. Okay. Emmy, over to you. The episode that you directed, Remember It, which we all remember. Has been submitted for Emmy consideration, which congratulations to you guys for doing that. Yes, indeed. Congratulations.
For everybody.
Yeah, to all of you guys. Yes. And I'm putting it in the universe. It's yours for the taking. What was it, or why that episode did Marvel consider that one to be submitted for Emmy consideration?
I knew that it was one of the plot points that got Marvel excited about the series in the first place. You know, I think that that was originally in the Bible, was originally Bo's main thing that he knew he wanted to get to. So for us, it was going to be, we knew, one of the most important, like just the mid-season finale. But then for me, approaching that episode, just the amount of emotions that we have to get into it, and then that we also have to be able to sell and convince people and actually go like, okay, I can't just introduce the city. I got to get people to fall in love with it and then lose it, but then also be traumatized by that loss. And just finding all those emotional balances with the crew, with our execs, with the writers. I think it ended up turning into just such a beautiful piece and commentary kind of also on just the world as it is now, as it has been in the past. So it's also just a story that is very relatable, that I think everybody in the world can actually, especially with things going on right now, just it touches everybody at home. And I think we took special care, not even knowing, because we worked on this episode about 2 years ago now, but not even knowing what was going to come, but just knowing what's been in the past, just how much these events hurt. And for me, what was important is I really was getting excited about how do we show how people recover, but we've got to earn everything. And that episode was about earning it. It's like, we're not just killing off Gambit. We've got to earn that. People have to feel something from this so that we can really relate to the characters and the tragedy of it. So I think just knowing that there was so much at stake, we put a lot then into it to just make it as successful as I'm hoping it really is. And it just quickly grew to be, I think, in all of our hearts, so it was a tricky one. It was a tricky one, but it's one that just deserved all our attention.
I mean, that's what I love about X-Men 97 is, and we've talked about this on the Black Girl Nerds podcast, is how this show is so relatable to real life events, as you've said with this episode with Remember It. I mean, you can take the events that we see in this episode and parallel it to what's happening right now with Palestine and Israel and just real world issues that's happening in our country or in outside of our country and other places all over the world. So I think that's why this series resonates with so many people, because universally we can just all relate to what's happening in the world of X-Men. And also it just emotionally was so jarring. Like, you guys just went George R.R. Martin on us with with that episode. We were just like, whoa, okay.
He's one of my favorites. Learn from the best.
My last question over to Chase. This season finale, it really exceeded my expectations. And even though I did predict on our podcast about the coming of Apocalypse, I got to pop my collar for that one. It was very cool to see and Sabanur show up in that final scene. But time travel storylines in the X-Men universe, as a comic book reader, can get really confusing. So how do you guys plan to simplify the narrative and the storytelling of this series, for maybe the casual viewer, to kind of make it a little bit more digestible as you guys go on to season 2?
Well, it's a big question. I think there's a couple different ways we kind of try to approach it, and thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that everybody was happy with the finale. It's a lot to tie up. We had a lot of loose ends, but we have an amazing crew, top to bottom. So shout out to them. And as far as like streamlining time travel, it's convoluted and at times, but I think we're just following, I don't want to say too much, but the key for me, I think, is a lot of it comes into the art direction, right? This is a visual medium. So we want to try to make two distinctly different timelines visually, and then just be clever in the way that we're cutting back and forth between. I think it's since the teams are split up, that's an easy way to kind of track, like when we're in one timeline and when we're in another, and really just telling the story of a character from two different points in time is very interesting, as is. And also, I think it's not simple, but it is very straightforward whenever you're following a character arc. I think that's the most important thing to remember. So, from a directorial standpoint, it's just about shot language, like I said, art direction, pacing, and just making sure that we understand that it can get confusing if we cut back and forth too much. So I think there's a little bit of like, how much time do we spend? Do we spend a whole episode here? Do we spend a whole episode here? And just being careful about that moving forward. But I can't say too much without giving away too many spoilers. You guys will just have to see how we tackle that. But we did a good job this season, so I think you guys are gonna like the next one. Personally,
You did a damn
if
good
I had
job.
to take a guess, if I was guessing, if I was a betting man, which I am not, but if I was, I'd bet on it.
I think your bets are pretty accurate in your favor when it comes to this, because this
I appreciate
season
it.
has been just incredible, and I can't wait for season 2. Chase, Emmy, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. Job well done. Congratulations to you both. And
you.
we are waiting with bated breath for season 2. Can't wait for it.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
your
much.
time.
Thank you for your time.
All right, take care. Bye.
Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.